Alice caught the attention of a villain. In order to save herself, she struck the villain on the head, but as a result, she was fired by her manager simply because the villain was the young master of a wealthy family. Luis, following his mother's orders, went to a KTV to find a girl who met certain requirements. Unexpectedly, Alice appeared and grabbed his hand, saying, "Sir, may I?" Luis held her in his arms and gently caressed her face. He thought that this would scare her off, but to his surprise, Alice only flinched a little before once again throwing herself into his arms and kissing him passionately. They spent the night together. Alice found herself lost in memories. Back when she was in high school, she had secretly harbored feelings for Luis, never expecting that she would end up in a relationship with him. She decided to end this unrequited love, planning to take Luis's money and cut ties with him afterward. What she didn't know was that after experiencing her, Luis had become addicted and would not let her go easily. Luis asked if she would follow him, but Alice's answer displeased him. He coldly said, "Don't ever appear in front of me again." Alice had sold her body to pay for her brother's medical bills, and the hospital finally stopped pressuring her for money. Alice received a new part-time job offer, unaware that it was a trap set by the villain. She almost got assaulted by the villain, but luckily, he was interrupted by a business meeting. He handed Alice over to his subordinates, and after managing to escape, she ran straight to Luis. Luis remembered Alice's earlier rejection and coldly asked, "What do I get in return for helping you?" Alice didn't respond. Luis arrogantly dragged her into the room and found out that she was taking on a part-time job because she was short on money. He bluntly expressed his desire, "If you really need money, I can help you out more. I like being with you." Alice rejected him, but in response, Luis kissed her forcefully. Despite Alice biting him earlier, Luis still acted like a gentleman and drove her home. Alice couldn't help but recall earlier that day when she saw the campus belle entering the dorm with a gift. She cursed the man in her mind, calling him a stud pig. She couldn't resist advising Luis to get regular checkups in case he had any diseases. Luis was confused by her words and asked his assistant. The assistant speculated that Alice must have misunderstood the situation with the campus belle. In reality, the campus belle had just had a meal with Luis's mother, and the gift was from his mother. Luis ordered his assistant not to let the campus belle see his mother again. In order to gather her brother's medical fees, Alice had dropped out of school and moved out of campus. While packing her things, she found the love letter she had never sent in high school. Alice couldn't help but reflect on how they ended up having a one-night stand, and that he even paid her afterward. Luis investigated Alice's new address and informed her to come downstairs. When Alice saw Luis, she noticed that he had a headache. Out of kindness, she offered to massage it for him. Suddenly, Luis's desire flared up, and he kissed Alice passionately. Her resistance, however, completely dampened his mood. Alice watched as the car drove away, and she couldn't help but think that she was probably just a woman he remembered when he had a need. Alice found a new job as a caddy at a golf course, and unexpectedly ran into her childhood friend Benno. Their reunion was interrupted when Luis walked in. He unceremoniously pulled Alice to his side. Benno's assistant reminded him that they couldn't argue with Luis, as they still had business to discuss. Luis ordered Alice to quit her job and return to school, offering to support her. Alice refused, firmly stating that they were clear with each other now. This statement angered Luis. Luis's assistant gave Alice $50,000, and though Alice knew accepting the money might mean she'd have no further connection with Luis, she agreed. Alice then agreed to accompany Benno to a party, where she met a stunning woman named Bess. Benno told Alice that Bess would soon become Luis's fiancée. Although Bess was indeed beautiful, she had a strong sense of jealousy and deliberately ruined Alice's dress because Alice's beauty displeased her. Alice found an empty room to change, but to her surprise, Luis entered the same room to change. He found Alice hiding in the room and saw her ruined dress. He instructed his assistant to bring a new dress for her. Luis once again pressed Alice on why she didn't want to be with him. Alice helplessly revealed the truth: "You don't lack women." Luis was pleased that she was jealous, but scolded her for saying too many harsh words and kissed her aggressively. Luis advised Alice to stay away from Benno, saying he was not a good person. Bess tried to engage with Luis more but was rejected. Luis deliberately got into Benno's car, wanting to sit next to Alice. Benno, confused, became the driver and took Alice home. The two men subtly competed in the car. Alice's life continued to spiral. She faced complaints about her work at both the golf course and her tutoring job. A kind colleague suggested that Alice might have offended some powerful figure. She then received a call from the hospital, informing her that her brother had nearly died from a sudden respiratory failure. The upcoming treatment would cost millions. Alice broke down in tears. Benno stepped in to help, taking Alice to a KTV to cheer her up. While there, Alice saw Luis with Bess and became incredibly jealous. She excused herself to leave, but Luis dragged her into a private room. In that moment, Luis looked a bit mad. He kissed Alice fiercely and demanded, "Did you sleep with Benno?" Alice, in despair, struggled and screamed at Luis. "Why do you have to push me like this? I want to escape this mess and live a good life. Why can't you just let me go?" Seeing Alice's tears, Luis confessed his feelings. "If you're with me, you have a choice." Enraged, Alice slapped him across the face. Benno learned of Alice's predicament and went to visit her brother in the hospital. Alice was shocked to find out that Benno knew Dr. Zhao. As she massaged her unconscious brother, she confided in him. "I had a one-night stand with Luis. Yes, he's your enemy. Dr. Zhao recommended the latest treatment methods, but it would cost $1 million. Benno met with Alice and offered to lend her the money, saying she didn't need to worry about repaying it immediately. The condition was that Alice pretend to be his girlfriend to deal with his difficult mother. Alice agreed. Luis's assistant found Alice and invited her to meet with Luis. Both of them still had unresolved feelings from their last confrontation. The assistant became a messenger, and ultimately, Luis was the first to back down. He told Alice that her brother's medical bills would be taken care of, and she could stop worrying about them. The only condition was that she meet with him. Alice refused, saying she didn't want to trade anything with Luis. She angrily scolded him for ruining both of her jobs and stormed out. Luis ordered his assistant to investigate the matter and find out what had happened to sabotage her jobs. Alice had hoped that her brother would receive the latest treatment methods, but after chatting with other family members, she learned that there was no such treatment. Alice went to Benno, demanding a change in her brother's treatment plan, but Benno only told her to stay calm and trust Dr. Zhao. Through her own investigation, Alice discovered that Dr. Zhao only wanted to use her brother as an experimental subject. She confronted Dr. Zhao and decided to report him. However, she didn't realize that Dr. Zhao was insane. When Alice woke up, she found herself as his test subject. In a critical moment, Luis kicked down the door and brutally beat the corrupt doctor. He held Alice tightly and took a stab meant for her. Fortunately, Luis's injury wasn't severe. Alice decided to take care of him herself. His assistant excitedly said, "The president is all yours now." Alice thanked Luis again, and he embraced her, slightly angry. "Do you know how worried I was? I couldn't get a hold of you, and I was panicking. Today, I almost lost you to a madman's knife." Alice playfully said, "I'll repay you for this favor." Luis brought up their relationship again, and this time, Alice sweetly responded, "I'm with you." She kissed him first, and Luis, moved by the gesture, promised, "I'll never let you fall into danger again." Luis decided to transfer Alice's brother to a different hospital. It was then that he discovered her brother was actually his high school classmate, someone with whom Luis had once fought. Luis asked Alice, "Did I meet you in high school?" Alice replied, "No, I was too young back then." She then told Luis about her family's tragedy. A car accident had taken her parents, and her brother became a vegetable. Her uncle had stolen all their family's wealth. Luis, deeply moved by her story, once again promised to protect Alice from harm. Alice kissed him. Luis deliberately held Alice's hand and refused Benno's plea for her to stay, leaving the situation gracefully. Alice received a call from the school informing her that a distant cousin was looking for her. The cousin turned out to be Luis's assistant, who had been sent by Luis to bring Alice back to school. After returning to campus, Alice learned that Luis had donated 2 libraries to the school, which left her surprised. However, things quickly became complicated. Alice grew upset when Louise brought Bess to the school for the groundbreaking ceremony of the libraries. Alice became intensely jealous. At the same time, she started feeling unwell and suspected she might be pregnant. Louise took her to the hospital, where the doctor revealed that it was simply due to long-term malnutrition causing irregular periods. Alice, curious, asked what Louise would do if she were really pregnant. Louise answered, "Then we'll have the child. But don't worry, I won't let you get pregnant. Just focus on your studies." Louise's mother, Mandy, accidentally witnessed their intimate moment and became curious about Alice's identity. Louise's assistant quickly intervened, saying, "She's my distant niece," which led Mandy to meet Alice. Mandy invited Bess's family to a banquet and happened to notice Alice working as a waitress at the restaurant. Mandy had already developed a soft spot for the poor, pitiful girl. When Bess saw Alice, she deliberately revealed that Alice had an ambiguous relationship with Benno, and sure enough, Mandy asked Alice to leave the private room. Alice bumped into Louise, who forcefully demanded that she continue serving in the private room. Bess, causing trouble on purpose, made Alice burn herself with hot food. Louise became extremely anxious and left the room with Alice, leaving everyone else behind. Bess believed Alice was taking Louise's attention away from her, so she decided to get rid of this bitch. Bess teamed up with the villain to set Alice up. Alice discovered that the interviewer for a job she was hoping for was Bess. Realizing she had no chance for the job, Alice drank the tea that Bess offered and left. She soon fell unconscious and was taken away by the villain. Louise noticed something strange about Alice's location and rushed to the hotel. Fortunately, Alice was unharmed, but she was terrified. Louise, furious, nearly killed the villain. After knocking him out, Louise took Alice home. The personal doctor informed Louise that Alice had been drugged with a strong sedative, and the only way to counteract it was by placing her in ice-cold water to relieve the effects. At that moment, Alice, delirious and barely conscious, felt a sudden urge to tear off Louise's clothes. She expressed her love for him for the first time, saying, "Louise, I've liked you for 8 years. Can you please not marry Bess?" They then shared a passionate moment together. Louise, already knowing that Bess was the mastermind behind the schemes, gritted his teeth and muttered, "If it weren't for the fact that Bess's family is useful to me, I would have gotten rid of her long ago." After Alice regained consciousness, she decided to completely end their twisted relationship. She told Louise that she was exhausted and that she knew about his marriage arrangement with Bess. She didn't want to be involved in such a complicated relationship. Louise respected her decision. Back at school, Alice caught the attention of a new suitor, Alex. Her classmate arranged a date for them, hoping Alice would regain her energy. Alice went to Alex's house and was surprised to find photos of Louise in his closet, along with a familiar box. Just then, Mandy appeared and was puzzled by Alice's presence in her house and her curiosity about the items. Alice explained that her mother had the same box. Mandy then realized that the girl before her was the child of her close friend, someone she had been searching for many years. When Louise returned home, Alex excitedly informed his cousin that he had found the girl Mandy had been searching for. Mandy immediately decided to adopt Alice as her goddaughter. Taking advantage of the moment when Alice was alone, Louise ordered her to refuse the adoption, saying that they had slept together, and he wouldn't allow her to date Alex. Alice rejected Louise's order. Meanwhile, Bess confessed her feelings to Louise, hoping that he would notice her. However, Louise rejected her, expressing his disdain. He warned Bess that if she tried to harm Alice again, she would regret it for the rest of her life. On the other side, Alice found a renowned doctor and begged him to save her brother. To her surprise, Louise also arrived at the doctor's residence. He and the doctor played a game of chess, and when Louise won, the doctor agreed to help him treat Alice's brother. Alice's brother finally showed signs of waking up, but then the miraculous doctor was involved in a car accident. Louise's assistant handed him the investigation results, revealing that the car accident had the involvement of the Bess family. Louise ordered his assistant to investigate the truth behind Alice's family's car accident. Meanwhile, Alice learned that her parents' car accident was not accidental. It was man-made. Her brother had become a vegetable because he was investigating the truth behind the accident. Alice vowed to uncover the truth. Alice began her own investigation, but unknowingly fell into a trap set by the villains. She woke up, shackled by iron chains, and saw Benno. She was confused, but at that moment, Benno tore off his previous disguise and confronted Alice in a crazed manner. He questioned her, asking why she had chosen Louise despite all the chances he had given her. Benno generously revealed to the naive girl that he had deliberately set up a scheme that caused Alice's uncle to fall into debt, which led to him stealing all of their family's money. Alice's intelligence returned, and she realized that Benno had ruined her job opportunities. Benno openly admitted to his actions, and he revealed that her brother had once had a chance to recover, but Benno had sent people to prevent it from happening. On the other side, Louise had uncovered the truth as well. Alice's parents' car accident was a joint plot by the Bess family and the Benno family. Her brother's accident happened because he discovered the truth and was targeted for it. Louise received news of Alice's disappearance, and he panicked. Louise decided to stop pretending to be with the Bess family. He submitted the blackmail evidence against the Bess family to the anti-crime department. The Bess family was arrested. Louise led his men in search of Alice. He bombed the underground prison and rescued his lover. Alice cried like a child, believing that Louise had married Bess. Louise then explained to her that everything was fake, that he had been playing a part to collect evidence against the Bess family and Benno family for their criminal activities. Benno was thoroughly defeated. Alice's brother woke up, though he was a little unhappy that his sister was now with her sworn enemy, but he still wished her happiness. The story ended with Louise proposing to Alice.